A war is coming. The Caribbean is no longer calm. 3 U.S. destroyers, the USS Gravely, USS Jason Dunham, and USS Sampson, slice through the waters off Venezuela. Somewhere below, a nuclear-powered submarine prowls in silence. Overhead, surveillance aircraft draw invisible circles in the sky. Marines sit aboard an amphibious assault ship, restless for orders. Washington says it's an anti-drug mission. Caracas calls it an invasion rehearsal. And then Nicolás Maduro storms into the UN, waving papers. Trump is trying to remove me. He might not be wrong. Trump hates 2 things above all: dirty elections and politicians who kiss China's ring. And Maduro? He checked both boxes. Plus, Washington says he's knee-deep in drug trafficking. It's like he personally wrote the How to Get on Trump's Hit List manual. How did Maduro win? Simple. Ban the real opposition, invent a few fake ones, and hand out food boxes with rice, beans, and soap. In Venezuela, elections aren't about ballots. They're about dinner. Trump, still furious about 2020, looked at Caracas and thought, at least America had ballots. This guy just handed out coupons. Who is Maduro anyway? Before power, he was a bus driver and union leader. Then Hugo Chavez picked him as successor, not for brains but for loyalty. Chavez had charisma. Maduro had the steering wheel. When Chavez died in 2013, Maduro inherited the revolution and promptly drove it off a cliff. And then there's China. Maduro loves China. Huawei builds his surveillance cameras, Chinese banks buy his oil, and Xi keeps him on financial life support. Why China? Because the US cut him off. Washington slapped sanctions, backed his rivals, and demanded free elections. Beijing, on the other hand, showed up with cash, loans, and oil contracts. No democracy required. For Maduro, it wasn't loyalty, it was survival. America asked for ballots. China only asked for barrels. In March 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted Maduro and 14 of his insiders for narco-terrorism, accusing them of using Venezuela's military and state institutions to traffic cocaine into America. The DOJ even charged they had deliberately deployed cocaine as a weapon. Maduro calls his accusers imperialist liars. Washington calls him a drug kingpin in a suit. Either way, that's one more bullet point on Trump's hit list. Trump went all in. Maximum sanctions, recognition of Juan Guaido as the real president, and constant threats that all options are on the table. Translation? He might invade, or he might just tweet about it, depending on the golf schedule. But here's the tragic irony. Venezuela wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, it was the richest country in Latin America. Caracas had skyscrapers, malls, and more Miss Universe winners than anywhere else. So what happened? Oil money built the empire, and oil's collapse destroyed it. Chavez spent billions on giveaways but never built anything lasting. Maduro inherited the mess, printed money until it was worthless, and corruption devoured the rest. Then, US sanctions slammed the door shut. Today, people queue for hours to buy bread. Supermarket shelves look like minimalism exhibits. They went from crowning beauty queens to rationing toilet paper. 7 million Venezuelans have fled. The ones who stayed? They live in an economy where coffee costs billions of bolivars. By the time you pay, the price has doubled. Welcome to Venezuela, the only country where inflation breaks the sound barrier. And then, a surprise from Oslo. Maria Corina Machado, banned from running, hunted at home, but still the people's choice, is awarded the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. The committee praised her for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. For Maduro, it's a slap. For Trump, it's vindication. Because the Nobel didn't just crown Machado, it branded Maduro a dictator. With U.S. destroyers circling the Caribbean and submarines lurking below, Trump's pressure suddenly looked a lot more righteous. And yet, Maduro stayed. Why? Because Russia sold him weapons, China gave him loans, and Iran sent him oil tankers. Plus, he bribed his generals with money and meat. Maduro's survival kit wasn't ideology. It was Chinese credit cards and Russian vodka. And that's Venezuela today. Once rich, now broken. Once glamorous, now desperate. Maduro survived Trump, sanctions, hyperinflation, and beauty pageant nostalgia. In the end, Venezuela proves one thing. You can win the oil lottery and still end up broke, bitter, and begging. Thank you for watching PastCast, where the past echoes through today. If you enjoyed the satire, scrolls, and scandals, like, subscribe, and ring the bell before the next empire falls.